Hi, everybody. Let's wait for everybody to kind of come in here so that I can explain what's going on tonight. So we're moving up, moving forward, doing a lot of new things. Let us know when you're here in the chat. Say hello. And if you're new to the Mother Della Morte show, please say hello and let us know where you're from. We always love new victims in the crypt. So tonight's going to be part 2 of the Blackout Killer. Now, killers. So there was another killer I'm going to be bringing to you on the second half of tonight's show. But we're going to be doing something a little bit different, like I said, because of the sensitivity factor and the overzealous censorship of Facebook. We will be dropping the feed about halfway through. I'll let you know. If you'll look down in the ticker, okay, this is the information to find us and watch us on our website. Tonight we are live on our website, and we do have a workable chat. You will need to create an account and sign in order to use the chat. You can chat back and forth. It's an uncensored chat. However, Mother Della Morte will be watching, and you will be blocked if you get rude. So let's enjoy the fact that we do have a chat area now, that we don't have to worry about a lot of things that we say. Follow the directions down in the ticker to find your way into the members only area. And look, once tonight's feed is over, go ahead and take advantage of the members only area. We have a lot of banned movies and information and things like that in the members only area that you can watch at your leisure and just enjoy yourself. That's what the members only area is for. And the password and everything is down here in the ticker. And you can find a link to the members only area in all of our websites. So go ahead and do that. Let's see what's going on in the chats real quick. Yes, thank you, Maud. Thank you, man behind the curtain, Oz. You can go there, drop down menu, members only area. Click on that, put in your password, and boom, there you are. Sign into the chats, create your little account that will always be yours. And we have figured out a way how to do this every time. So this is going to be fun. We'll have our, we won't have to worry so much about the overzealous censorship here on Facebook. All right, so let me see what's going on in the chats, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. So we've got Calvin in the house. We've got Mark. We've got Mikey. Hello. We've got John. Let's see. I feel like I should be saying romper, stomper, bumper, boo. I see you. All right. So also go to our YouTube so you can watch the entire episode uninterrupted, or like I said, you can go on our website, watch the entire episode uninterrupted. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of house cleaning like we always do. So, of course, again, Facebook is getting aggressive with their reach. They do not like pages that have a healthy, organic supporter base. And if anybody has noticed, Facebook has been getting just entirely crazy. We've noticed today that they're actually, which we had some suspect, It seems like they may be monitoring the private messages and things like that. So they're getting a little too much, just absolutely too much thought police in my opinion. All right, so if you could please share out, please subscribe to our YouTubes, do all the things. Also, when you're at our website, go ahead and take advantage of the fact that you can sign up for our newsletter. It will have a lot of interesting information in it that you may or may not get here. Let's see. If you want to catch back episodes, you can do that from our YouTube, or you can do it uber easily from the website, which is in the website watch page. So we're trying to eventually get everything moved over to the website. So if we have our own platform, we can do what we want, and we don't have to be so worried with like watering everything down. Also, if you have a business group or product and are looking to advertise, PBDC TV now has limited sponsorship spaces available. You can reach us here through Facebook or through our website for more information. And we have very, very reasonable rates. Also new to the broadcasting like umbrella is Eatin' Sundays. So Eatin' Sundays is going to be pretty cool. It's just going to kind of be random stuff. We might have some gaming. We're going to have some like creepypasta stuff. It's going to be kind of like a pig in a poke. Like we don't know what's going to be going on, but the whole day is reserved for Eatin' Sundays. So if you have a character and you would like to make a special appearance on Eatin' Sunday, get in touch with us and we'll talk to you about it and see if we can make that happen. So Eatin' Sundays is going to be a lot of fun. Looks like we've got some more comments in the chat real quick. I'm going to pop on that. And we should have been able to give everybody time to get in here. But please share to groups and pages you think might enjoy this feed. And like I said, the second half is going to be a little more offensive to some. So we're going to pop that on over to the website and to YouTube. So let's go ahead and get the legal stuff out of the way. If we can go ahead and let's put up our legal notifications, which should be at the first part of the clip. All right, so warning, the following film contains scenes of monumental catastrophe. The following video contains explicit content, mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, this program is for educational purposes. Per Section 17 of USC, Section 107, U.S. Code, unanointed Title 17, Copyright, Section 107, Limitations on Exclusions concerning fair use. Notwithstanding the provisions of Section 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work includes such use by reproduction in copies or phono records or by any other means specified that selections for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, education, scholarships, or research is not an infringement of copyright. This is public domain mark 1.0. All right. So we can go ahead and let's get into the second half of Gordon Cummings. Just to kind of recap a little bit, Gordon Cummings was a gentleman back during World War II, during the Battle of Britain, who basically took advantage of the blackout orders because of the concern of bombing by the Third Reich on London, to take advantage of that and start murdering and raping women. So we went down through the murders, we went down through the victims, and now we are at the investigation and the arrest. So we can go ahead and we can run the next clip. Prior to providing his witness statement at the West End Central Police Station, John Shine, which was the gentleman that found the haversack, handed the gas mask and the haversack to investigators. explaining that he had recovered the items from the doorway where he had found Miss Haywood, who insisted the items had been in possession of her assailant. A detective sergeant named Thomas Shepard noted the RAF regiment number, which was 525987, printed on the inside of the haversack. Shepard immediately contacted the Royal Air Force Police, who in turn contacted Cummins Regiment in Regent's Park. A staff sergeant quickly ascertained the gas mask and the haversack had been issued to Cummins. The information was relayed to Detective Sergeant Shepard at 11:30 p.m. on the 13th of February, with the staff sergeant adding Cummins was not at his billet, which basically means at his assignment or his area. Now, Detective Sergeant Thomas Shepard formally questioned Cummins on the morning of the 14th of February. He protested his innocence, Cummins, that is, and claimed he had spent the evening drinking whiskey and bitter with a corporal whose name he could not recall at the Volunteer Public House on Baker Street before the two took a taxi to Shaftesbury Avenue. According to Cummins, he drank several shots of spirits, and at the bar before engaging in conversation with a woman, he further claimed to not only to have a hazy recollection of his conversation with this woman due to his intoxication. Although he claimed to have a hazy recollection of walking on the street with her in her company before realizing in the early hours that he had violated his curfew, immediately returning to the base. He claimed to have no memory of attacking Haywood, but expressed his regrets and offered to pay her compensation, which is just completely narcissistic. Question as to why the knuckles upon his left hand were cut and bruised, Cummins claimed to have received the wounds while performing maintenance upon an airplane engine. Immediately after Cummins provided a written statement of his account of the previous evening's events, he was arrested and held on reprimand upon a charge of causing grievous bodily harm. Now, an examination of the entries within billet passbook on the 15th of February indicated Cummins had reported back to the billet before 10:30 p.m. On several dates, each murder and attempted murder investigators had ascribed to the blackout killer. However, many entries had been written in lead pencil, meaning entries within the book could easily be manipulated. Furthermore, several of Cummins' entries for the month of February were incomplete, as although he had invulnerably signed the passbook when leaving base, he had frequently failed to sign in upon his return. Questioning of Cummins' fellow airmen revealed that he had been in the habit, or they had been in the habit, of vouching for each other's return to base, and that Cummins had spent extravagantly amounts of time in the week prior to his arrest, basically away. Detective Chief Inspector Edward Greeno further discovered Cummins and another airman named Felix Sampson had left the billet. Oh, sorry. I had forgot to mute one section. Had left the billet via a fire escape after midnight on each of the dates in question, and both had not returned to base until the early hours of the morning. A search of Cummins' possessions revealed that he had taken various items belonging to the fourth victim or murder victim linked to the blackout killer as a keepsake. So he was one to collect trophies. One of the items had been a white metal cigarette case engraved with the initials LW, which had belonged to Evelyn Oatley. This cigarette case was discovered hidden inside a kitchenette alongside a photograph of Oatley's mother. Traces of blood were also recovered from a shirt retrieved from his kit bag and the inner surface of his belt. Furthermore, an examination of the trouser turn-ups of Cummins' military uniform revealed traces of a distinctive brick dust mixture found at the air raid shelter in which Evelyn Hampton's body was discovered. Clippings of this mortar were also recovered from Cummins' haversack. Detective Chief Superintendent Frederick Cherrell was able to match the fingerprint of Cummins' left little finger and thumb with prints found upon the tin opener and broken mirror found the body of Evelyn Oatley. And if you remember last week, Evelyn Oatley was horrifically murdered and mutilated. very much in the tone of Jack the Ripper when he had time. So Cummings was extremely disturbed. And I did find when I was doing the research on this, very surprising. Now, of course, the times were different. That there had been no reports of him having anger issues or things like that. But like was said last week, sometimes war and opportunity can bring out the worst in people. So he definitely had a Mr. Hyde hiding within himself. That's for sure. So let's go ahead and just check the comments real quick, and I want to check and see too if anybody has come over to the website yet. So let's see. Yes, we have Steve the kitty cat, and he says giving it a test. We're glad to see you in the members only area, Steve. Thank you. And then he's also saying hello to Cemetery Joe. So let's see what's going on in the comments. It looks like we have a slew of them. All right, let's see. Let's go back up here. Hi, Genevieve. Hi, Kisa. How are you? And guys, stick around. I'll give updates on what we're doing later in this feed. And also check out the ticker, guys, that is scrolling below me. It's got some neat information that you can enjoy even after this feed is over in our members only area. So check that out. And I'm going to get back to this real quick. All right. So 2 of the 10 1-pound banknotes Catherine McCleahy's attacker had given her before and after he had assaulted her were brand new. Via tracing the serial numbers of these banknotes, Detective Chief Inspector Edward Greeno was further able to determine that these 2 notes had been issued to Cummings on the 12th of February. So he wasn't really good about covering his tracks at all. Both Haywood and McCauley were later asked to view a police lineup to identify their attacker. McCauley was unable to positively identify her attacker, although Haywood unhesitantly identified Cummings as the man who had assaulted her. Cummings continued to protest his innocence, claiming Haywood was mistaken and that the other airman must have switched his own gas mask and haversack with his, and may have left the items at the site of the attempted murder in an effort to frame him. Of course, it was not his fault. On the 16th of February, Edward Greeno drove to HM Prison, Brixton, to interview Cummings, who recounted his movements between the 9th and the 13th of February. He insisted he had never encountered any of the murder victims and claimed to be unable to recognize their photographs. When presented with the victim's personal belongings recovered along his own possessions, Cummings claimed the items had been taken from a service respirator case I was carrying when arrested, but which were not mine. He then recounted his claim that he had either picked up the wrong haversack or that another airman had switched his own gas mask and haversack with his. Unconvincingly, though, of course, Cummings claims Greeno informed him he was to be charged with the murders of Oatley, Lowe, and Jolnett the following morning. He was held on reprimand at HM Prison, Brixton, to await a trial. Cummings was further charged with assaulting Haywood and McCauley on the 20th of February. And on the 27th of March, Cummings again appeared before a judge at Bow Street Magistrates Court. On this occasion, he was further charged with the murders of Evelyn Hampton, which, I've got to say this is good. I know that there were 2 that are kind of like, they think he did it, but it's really rare, especially these days, to see a serial killer that is charged with a good lump sum, if not all of their victims. They normally will, get the ones that they have a like cut and dry case on. So there's usually a lot of victims that, go without justice, basically, even though everybody in the courtroom knows that they were victims of that particular killer. So it's good to see that Cummings was charged with a lot of these murders and attempted murders. Now, the trial of Gordon Cummings for the murder of Evelyn Oatley began at the Old Bailey on the 24th of April of 1942. He was tried before a Mr. Justice Asquith. The clerk of assize opened proceedings on the date by asking Cummings to stand to hear a formal recitation of the charges and to state his plea. Cummings entered a plea of not guilty to the charges against him. The clerk then informed the jury, and I quote, "The prisoner at the bar, Gordon Frederick Cummings, is charged upon indictment with the murder of Evelyn Oatley on the 10th day of February this year. Now, to this indictment, he has pleaded that he is not guilty. It is your charge to say, having heard the evidence, whether he be guilty or not." Now, the prosecution consisted of Christmas. It's a weird first name, isn't it? Christmas Humphreys, KC, and GB McClure. Now, KC with Dennis Noel Pritt KC initially were appointed to defend Cummings. However, due to a legal technicality on the first day of the trial, the presentation of the jury's crime scene photographs of the victim, Margaret Florence Lowe, the jury was excused from duty. So basically what they had to do is they had to restart the trial, which I know that their legal system's a little bit different than ours, so I'm not really sure what exactly happened there. But they did have to wind up restarting the trial before a new jury on the 27th of April. The defense now consisted of John Flowers, KC, and Victor Durham, KC. Cummings himself seemed uninterested in the legal proceedings, occasionally chatting in a lighthearted manner with his lawyers or turning from the bar to smile and wave at his wife, who steadfastly believed in his innocence. Which, if you know a lot, like that really kind of reminds me of like Bundy. Like Bundy was very nonchalant about his trial, and even had like the narcissistic belief that he himself could represent himself the best. So you know, I don't get surprised when I run up on these kind of behaviors with other serial killers. You know, especially the ones you don't really hear about a whole lot. So that didn't surprise me, but I did find it interesting. So we're going to get into the defendant's testimony, but let's see what's going on in the chats real quick. And I need to reconnect over here. Let's see. This is so cool. I love having everything up on the website. It just makes it super easy. And I tell you, that go off on a rant. Yes, Odd Mother, she loves to rant every now and then. Especially if you know me personally, I rant a lot. So I tell you, let's see, we have Frank is over here. Hello, Frank. I tell you, it's going to get to the point if like major social media don't stop with this overzealous like censorship to where it's going to be like the 90s again. Do you guys remember the 90s? Well, I know we may have like some younger people in here, to where really all your activity on the web was like searching websites and things like that, which was really cool because you could find a lot of people that sold really cool items this way, like before Etsy and all this stuff came along. And because Etsy is like so saturated that it's really hard to find interesting stuff, even when you put it up in the search criteria. But I really do. I see us going back to websites again. I really do, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. You know, even though I think we've gotten really used to social media and everything kind of being, you know, all compromised in one spot. But, you know, as you know, it has issues of its own now, if you know what I mean. So let's see what's going on in the chats real quick over here on Facebook and YouTube. So Kisa says, "I'm good, Aunt Mama. How are you?" I am very good, Kisa. But I tell you what, I have been so incredibly busy. We are getting ready for our next like full force season here at PBDC TV. So, you know, I love the editing. You know, a lot of the videos that you see are either my work or the work of Frank or Liz. And it takes a lot. Anybody that like edits and does like video creation, it's not a matter of just a couple of minutes. I have had a few that have taken me a week. So I have been very, very busy doing that, and I've got a really big two-parter coming up in the next few weeks that we're going to get into. That is a really neat subject. It's a very odd subject that not a lot of people know about. Like, you've probably heard the name, you've probably seen characters based on this particular person. But the story behind this person, a lot of people have not heard about. So we're going to be getting into that. And it's fascinating. It's a little confusing at first because you don't really know where to start, and you'll understand what I'm talking about when we get into it. But I'm working on that. I've got a book I've got to read, things like that, because I like to try to be as accurate as I can on a lot of this stuff. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. So, all right. Okay. So, and guys, don't forget, share out, share out, share out. We really do appreciate when you share. All right, let's see. This is just, I'm sorry. I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. This is so cool. All right, so the defendant's testimony. Cummins chose to testify in his own defense on the 27th of April. What did I say? He denied any culpability in Oatley's murder, insisting that he had been in the company of another woman on the 10th of February before returning to his billet. Cummins admitted to having lied in his statement to Detective Chief Inspector Edwards Greeno that he and Sampson had reconvened outside the Monaco restaurant at approximately 10 p.m., adding the primary reason was that he had been afraid due to the fact Greeno had intimidated him in his initial questioning on the 16th of February, stating to him, and I quote, "We have a rope around your neck and we are going to hang you with it," after he had admitted having been in Oatley's company shortly before her murder, but had insisted she had been alive and well when he had last seen her. He also claimed to have been too drunk on the evening of her death to recall the actual timing of his whereabouts or actions, adding, and I quote, "I had not a watch myself, and of course, in the dark, one cannot see public clocks." Both counsels presented their closing arguments to the jury on the 28th of April. Upon completion of both counsels' closing arguments, Mr. Justice Asquith delivered his final instructions to the jury. This address lasted for more than an hour, with the judge outlining the key points presented by both prosecution and defense. At 4 p.m., the jury retired to consider their verdict. However, the jury returned their verdict at 4:35 p.m., having deliberated for just 35 minutes. When asked by the court clerk as to their verdict, the foreman replied, and I quote, "Guilty of murder." Cummins was then formally sentenced to death by hanging. Upon imposing his sentence, Mr. Justice Asquith stated, and I quote, "Gordon Fredericks Cummins, after a fair trial, you have been found guilty and on a charge of murder. As you know, there is only one sentence which the law permits me to pronounce, and that is you will be taken from this place to a lawful prison, and hence to a place of execution, and that you there will be hanged by the neck until you are dead. And may God have mercy on your soul." Now, following his conviction, Cummins was held in a condemned cell at the Wadsworth prison to await execution. He voiced no concern over his predicament, although he did lodge an appeal against his conviction. His appeal was rejected by the Lord Chief Justice in early June of 1942. Gordon Cummins was executed by Albert Pierrepoint at Wadsworth Prison on the 25th of June of 1942. Contemporary news reports indicated Cummins was given a glass of brandy to calm his nerves. He then walked stoically to the scaffold, flanked by 2 wardens, without offering any resistance. The entire execution process lasted less than 2 minutes. Cummings' execution was conducted, which I find this interesting. Cummings' execution was conducted during a German air raid upon London. He is the only convicted murderer in Britain's criminal history known to have been executed during an air raid. Cummings protested his innocence to the end. His wife and family were unwavering in their belief of his innocence and visited him on a frequent basis until the day of his execution. Cummings' body was later buried within the confines of the prison. Charges related to the other 3 blackout killer murders remained on file. Scotland Yard investigators later stated they strongly believe Cummings had murdered all 4 women in addition to the 2 women murdered on October of 1941, while he had been stationed in Cornry prior to his November 1941 posting to Cornwall. However, Londoners were not the only ones to have such troubles during a blackout. Let's see what's going on in the chats real quick, because I'm about to give you some direction after we get into this just a wee bit. Hi, Donald. How are you? So he says, hello, this is Cosmo the Clown. We are so glad to have you, Cosmo, here in the crypt. Odd Mother always likes new victims. Yummy, yummy. Nom, nom, nom. All right, so let me give you instruction. We're going to get into this a little bit, and then you'll find me over on YouTube. So look down below, okay? You see the YouTube. All you have to do is go over to YouTube, type in Psychopathic DC. It will take you to our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, please. I will greatly appreciate it if you do. Also, you can find us with a live, uncensored chat on our website, but you will have to go to the members area. You can find that on all 3 of our websites. Our websites, you can find at the top of every single one of our Facebook pages. We make it super duper easy for you. Go to the members, go to the drop down menu. If you decide to go to the website, click on members area only or members only area. Click on that. You will be prompted for a password. The password, all lowercase, run, rabbit, run, all one word. Put that in there. You'll now be in the inner circle. You can take advantage of the inner circle even after this feed is over. We are big proponents of anti-censorship. So you will see a lot of movies in there that are very, very hard to find on the internet. It is all legal, but you can watch them directly from our Facebook. And a lot of really good movies. We have Blazing Saddles. We've got all different kinds of movies in there. So take advantage of that. I think we've got 4 or 5 pages of movies, actually. A little bit of information about the movies, that kind of thing. And all these movies at one point or another have been on the banned list at one point or the other. But put on your big boy pants, okay? If you go into the members only area, let's see, we need to get Spaceballs too. I will look for it. I will look for it. So put on your big boy pants because, like I said, these are adult, not adult movies, but we expect you to act like an adult. So that's why we also give you an uncensored chat. But you will need to sign up for that chat so that we know who it is that is chatting. And please keep it polite. You know, you guys are adults. I'm not going to try to micromanage you. So do all the things. We're going to go ahead and get into this for just a second to give you guys time to move over, because once we get into the second killer, we're going to cut the feed on Facebook. Okay, we'll be on YouTube, we'll be on our website, just because it deals with the Third Reich and things like that frickin' Zuckerberg would have a frickin' coronary over, and I'm just tired of dealing with them. So all right, so if we'll go ahead and run the next clip real quick. Actually, you know what? We missed a clip. So we need to go to the next clip. And you can turn up the sound on that. Back up just a wee bit. Yeah, just a wee bit more. That should be good. All right, this is going to give you guys time. So, and you know, I was doing this editing at 3 o'clock in the morning, so this may have been me. Actually, I think this was me that messed up here. I didn't put my little clip things in here. All right, now let's run the next clip. And you can turn up the sound on that one. All right, so we're going to rewind a little bit. And Berlin, Germany, who at the same time were having troubles of their own. And we will see you guys on YouTube. Bye. Hello. Are we still broadcasting? Let me know where you're at. Okay, so we got YouTube. Hi, Kisa. Hi, Christopher. How are you? Let's give everybody a little bit of time to get over here real quick. Let's see if we've got anything going on in the private chats. No, it looks like we're good. It looks like we're good. So let's see. All right, yeah, we're still going. I do believe. Going to give everybody some time. All right, Oz, if you will let me know when we need to get started. I'm on YouTube. Okay, so Christopher says he's on YouTube and the website. Awesome, 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 awesome. All right. So let's see. Okay, let me say hello to everybody in here if I can get this to work right. Hold on just a second. Hey guys, like I said, if you're over on the website, take advantage of that that members only area because we got a lot of neat stuff. And I will look for Spaceballs. I'll look for Spaceballs. and see if we can find Spaceballs over there, or put Spaceballs in there. All right, let's see if this will work. It wants me to sign in. All right. Well, I'll just have to monitor the chat. It's not letting me sign in for some reason. Okay. All right. Okay. Hello, people. Welcome to our YouTube channel. All right. Awesome. So we are ready to go. And if you're just joining us, we finished up the London blackout killer. Okay. Gordon Cummings. He took advantage during the Battle of Britain of the blackout order that Britain had, or actually all of Europe had, to protect themselves, or try to protect themselves from the air bombings of the Third Reich. Now, Great Britain and London were not the only ones to have an issue or have trouble with what was going on. If we can go ahead and play the next clip. They too had a blackout serial killer stalking the streets and on the loose. On the 4th of October of 1940, 20-year-old mother of two, Gerda Ditter, whose husband, Arthur, was away in the military, was found stabbed to death in her home. 2 months later, on the evening of the 4th of December, 2 more women were found murdered. SBAN passenger Elfriede Franke, whose skull was crushed with an iron bar before her corpse was hurtled off the moving train. Then, merely less than an hour later, 19-year-old Ingrid Friis, who was raped before also being bludgeoned to death as she was walking home alone. On the 22nd of December, railroad workers discovered the body of a 4th victim. Okay, we can stop right now. Okay. On December 22nd of December, railroad workers discovered the body of a 4th victim, Elizabeth Bergner, discarded alongside the railroad tracks. A medical examination determined that she had died as a result of a fracture to the skull as well. 6 days later, on the 28th of December of 1940, the police discovered Gertrude Stewart the morning after she had been assaulted and thrown from a train. Suffering from exposure and various life-threatening traumas, Stewart was rushed to the hospital, where she eventually died of her injuries the following day. This scene repeated itself on the 5th of January of 1941, when the unconscious body of Hedwig Huber, who was 5 months pregnant, was located near the S-Bahn. And the S-Bahn is basically the train service, the public train service. The killer had unsuccessfully attempted to strangle Huber before throwing her from the train alive. And like Stewart, Huber succumbed to her injuries later that day in the hospital, never regaining consciousness. On the 11th of February, the remains of a 7th victim, Johanna Volt, a pregnant mother of 3, was found. An autopsy later confirmed that most suspected, that Volt had died as a result of repeated blows to the head and injuries sustained after being thrown from the train. Given the obvious similarities in the various crimes, all 7 deaths were deemed to be the work of the same individual. So let's see what's going on in the comments real quick, and then we'll get on with it. All right, so we've got Christopher, and he said he's at PBDC. And then we've got Kisa. Hi, Kisa. Let's see. And then Maud says, did Hedwig have an angry itch? I get angry itches, Kisa says. They tend to travel. Let's see, and then we've got Frankie and Liz. Hi, Liz. Let's see. All right. All right, so we can go ahead and we can run the next clip. Much like London, German authorities were hampered in their investigation of the murders by several recurrent obstacles. The Nazi government having instituted a vigorous program of wartime media censorship in order not to spread panic and demoralize. Oh, we can stop it right there. Okay. The Nazi government having instituted a rigorous program of wartime media censorship in order not to spread panic and demoralize civilians on the home front, meaning that they were only curious or cursory details released about each case, which impeded the progress of investigation, which did have a similarity with Gordon Cummings. As you know, there was a lot of things that, and it's hot here, guys. It is so hot down here in the South. That they, you know, they were hoping that it would be to their advantage. In other words, that it will just not be investigated. So also, secondly, due to ongoing Allied bombing raids on the German capital, blackout conditions were necessary to shield strategical important targets from airborne destruction. As a side effect, however, these conditions were conducive to criminal activity, as we also saw in London. Like Cummings, the killer exploited the blackouts, using them to stalk and kill his victims, and then to escape from possible surveillance under the cover of darkness. There were other issues too. The Berlin S-Bahn appeared to have a poor health and safety record at the time, meaning that German authorities, it is so hot here, guys, meaning that German authorities had to contend with a surplus of corpses resulting from both accidental deaths on the rail line and those killed during the Allied bomb raids. So kind of the same thought pattern, you know, whereas Cumming would use like bombed out buildings and things like that, and streets and things like that that could probably easily to like be more inconspicuous because of all the destruction that was going on. Whereas in this case, this particular killer was using the train line, the S-Bahn train line in Berlin, kind of under the same assumptions. Now, this resulted in a large forensic backlog that placed the police force and municipal medical services at further disadvantage. Now, we can go ahead and we can run the next clip. So the official Nazi ideology, whose tenets included anti-Semitism, xenophobia, and notions of German racial superiority, discouraged investigators from considering the possibility that someone racially German could be responsible for such horrendous crimes. Much initial suspicion wrongly settled on foreign forced laborers, most Polish prisoners of war, working in the numerous factories adjacent to the rail network. Local Jews were also targeted unjustly for investigations in connection with the murders, albeit mainly for ideological reasons. In any event, survivors' testimony eventually established that the suspect was indeed German, and the perpetrator was in fact a veteran member of both the Nazi Party and an employee of the SBAN rail service. So, you know, crazy enough and sadly enough, you know, if this particular person had not been targeting German women of good breeding stock, they probably would have completely turned a blind eye to it, which is very, very sad. And I do find, even in that particular climate, as kind of a armchair historian, the fact that they would actually not overlook like attempted victims, like the survivor's testimony of what actually happened. Like there was so much propaganda going on during that time, especially you know, in Germany and Russia and things like that, that it would have been super duper easy to just completely, you know, ignore the testimony of these survivors and actually take it out on, the Jews, which is just absolutely horrible. All right, so we can go ahead and we can run, let's see, the next clip, I think. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's not run that clip. I have missed something when I was doing this. This is what I get for doing a lot of editing late at night. All right, so we're going to talk about Paul Orzor. Paul Orzor was born on the 29th of September of 1912 in the village of Moontown, East Prussia, German Empire, which is present-day Mutow, Poland. He was the illegitimate child of Marie Saga, a farm worker. Saga's father later filled out his new grandson's birth certificate, marking it with 3 crosses and the child's name as Paul Saga. In 1924, the now 12-year-old Saga was adopted by Johanna Orzau, a farmer in Havelland. He eventually took Orzau's surname as his own and relocated to Neuen near Berlin. He initially worked as a laborer on his adoptive father's farm and later found employment with a steel foundry in Brandenburg an der Havel. Brandenburg an der Havel. Wow, that's a mouthful. Brandenburg an der Havel. Orzau joined the Nazi Party in 1931 at the age of 18, and the following year became a member of its paramilitary branch known as the Sturmabteilung, or the SA. How about that? After the Nazi seizure of power in 1933, he rose modestly in the party ranks, and by the time he was captured, held the position of Sofführer, which is basically squad leader in the SA. In 1934, Orzau was hired as a plate layer by the National Railroad Deutsche Rachenbahn, which ran the Berlin S-Bahn. He steadily worked his way up through the organization, eventually becoming an assistant signalman at the Rummelsburg depot in the eastern suburbs of Berlin, close to Karlshorst. This was the area where most of the crimes later occurred. And let's see what's going on in the chats real quick. And let's see what's going on over here. All right. Oh, we got a lot of people over here too. Oh, Kisa, hello. Hi, Mikey. And Mikey says, does the name Gertrude why does the name Gertrude make me laugh? It is an old name. I think I had a family member named Gertrude. But now our family on my grandmother's line was from Germany, but that was pre-World War II when they came over. And then Steve the Cat says, now it's springtime for Hitler in Germany. Oh my goodness. And Steve the Cat is just chilling in his box. And we have a picture over here. Nice. Nice. Let's see what's going on here in the chats on YouTube. All right, let's see. Which is fun because they tried to mold themselves after Vikings with actual fashion. Let me catch up on that. Would probably make more sense if I caught up on the conversation. Let's see. And then PBDC says this is super cool not to be censored by Facebook, right? Now, eventually, and it does take money. But we will get there. Eventually, we will have our own platform, period, so that we can get away from social media altogether. And we can go back to being uncoddled adults. I think people have forgotten what that was like. And that's what we want to get back to. I'm so tired of all this freaking kindergarten behavior from these social media companies. Yes, Christopher, it is automatic swamp ass weather here as well. And then Frank said he had a bad case of swamp ass earlier. I was getting swamp eyeballs there for just a second. And then Frank says the death's head of the SS was nothing but thousands of serial killers that Germans unleashed. It absolutely was. It absolutely was. And you know, that's the sad thing about this particular killer, is that if he would have targeted people that were already being targeted by the Nazi Party, they probably would have turned a blind eye, which I'm glad he didn't. I mean, I'm sad that the whole thing had to happen, period. But he would have never been caught. He would have never been caught if he had targeted people of minorities and stuff. So I'm glad he was caught. All right. Okay. All right. So in 1937, Orzow married Gertrude. There's another Gertrude for you, Mikey. Zeigelman, a saleswoman 2 years older than himself. And they had 2 children, a son and a daughter. Initially, they lived with Orzow's mother in a working class area of Berlin with allotments, apartment blocks, and tenement shacks. The family later moved to another apartment in the suburb of Karlshorst, near to where Orgzow worked. He was often seen playing with his children, spending a lot of time in his garden, and tending a small cherry orchard in the backyard. At his trial, Zeigelman gave evidence that he often became violent and abusive. So he did have like a history of violence and abuse, obsessively making unfounded claims of her being unfaithful to him. Orgzow traveled to his job at the rail service daily, either by train, on foot, or by bicycle. He was generally well regarded by his railway co-workers and was considered reliable and highly competent, often operating both the light signals and the telegraph simultaneously. Although he generally worked in and around a signal box at the Zubter near Straub, where the VNK railway meets the S-Bahn, he was often dispatched to work at various locations along the S-Bahn's rail system, always wearing his uniform. After his capture, Orgzow extensively detailed his various criminal activities to the police, allowing for a more precise construction of his crimes. In late August of 1939, while he and his family were residing in the Karlshorst, Orgzow embarked on a series of violent attacks, randomly sexually assaulting and raping dozens of women in and around the Friedrichsfeld district. With German, you just have to basically like you're hawking up something. At that time, the neighborhood was populated mostly by solitary housewives whose husbands had been called up to serve in the World War II. It was these vulnerable women who initially served as Orgzow's primary source of victims, and police documented 31 separate cases of rape and other sexual assaults that occurred in the allotment and tenement area, all of which were later connected to Orgzow. During his attacks, he either choked his victims, threatened them with a knife, or bludgeoned them. And in their statements, all the victims mentioned their attacker wore a railway worker's uniform. Orgzow first began attempting to murder some of his victims during this time, but his initial attempts were unsuccessful. Between the August of 1939 and July of 1940, Orgzow attacked and stabbed 3 different women, all of whom recovered and later served as witnesses against him. In August of 1940, he savagely bludgeoned another woman after raping her on board the S-Bahn, She survived only because she lost consciousness, and Orgzow mistakenly thought she had died. So he may have been really meticulous, but he wasn't really smart at the same time. Another failed effort in September resulted in the victim surviving not only an attempted strangulation, but also being thrown from a moving train by Orgzow. He soon suffered another setback when his attempts to rape another woman in an SBAN station, when her husband and brother-in-law, whom Orgzow had failed to notice, rushed to her aid after she screamed for help. Orgzow managed to escape after being severely beaten. In light of this close call, Orgzow changed his modus operandi, and his new approach was more successful. Though the police operation was underway by December of 1940, with 5,000 of Berlin's 8,000 railway workers being interviewed, and police patrols were doubled on the S-Bahn section. The Nazi Party dispatched functionaries to personally protect unaccompanied women who commuted through the area. Police officers disguised as females and female detectives were used as bait aboard second-class carriages in an attempt to catch the killer. Other detectives were disguised as railway workers, and commuters were watched at each station. And Orgzow, and oddly enough, with all this going on, when the Nazi Party actually assigned people or officers to accompany women from like work or the train, things like that, to protect them, he actually volunteered for the job of an escort as well for the solitary women during the night hours. Despite this effort, the authorities did not catch more than a handful of petty criminals unrelated to the case. However, the increased police attention did prompt Orgzow to become cautiously inactive for nearly 5 months following his murder of Bolt in February of 1941. So let's see what's going on in the chats real quick. Yes, Gertrude Moore Bratwurst. And then Maud says, honestly, he was terrible as a killer, as most of his victims died days later. This is true, Frank. This is absolutely true. Hawk and spit. That's it, pretty much. You just hawk and spit it out, Keitha. You're absolutely right. And the Keitha says she thinks she had a relative named Gertrude. And then Liz just walked 2 miles in 102 temperature, then picked up poop. Ugh. I tell you what, down here in the South, and I know Keitha can relate because she's in my state. I can feel August coming. The wind has stopped moving, and it has gotten so humid, and so, even though I think this August is going to be a wet one, it's usually really, really dry. The air just quits moving. And we have pretty much not left the house in like the last 5 days. It's been so bad. And then Frank says that his aunt's middle name is Gertrude, and she hates it. I would have to say, if my middle name was Gertrude, I wouldn't be real happy about it either. And then Christopher says, oh my God, talk about OCD. So I play Wolfenstein and get pissed at how most things are in German. German is actually easier for me to pronounce, Mikey, than Spanish. I have the hardest time with Spanish. Spanish and French. I have a really hard time with both of those. But I just can't roll my tongue right with Spanish for some reason. All right, so let's get back to what we were talking about. So he did not reemerge until the 3rd of July of 1941, when he claimed his 8th and final victim, a 35-year-old Frieda Koizoil. She was raped and then bludgeoned to death at in the same manner as Fredericksfield, in the same area of Fredericksfield area where Ortzow had begun his wave of sex crimes 2 years before. Ortzow, who often made like just misogynistic comments and things like that to coworkers and talked often of his fascination with killing, was eventually singled out by investigators looking for potential suspects among railroad employees following the murder of the last victim. A coworker reported to police that Ortzow often climbed over the fence of the railway depot during work hours. Ortzow explained that this was his attempt because he was sneaking out to meet a mistress whose husband was in the military. Wildheim Lutek personally inspected Ortzow's railway uniforms, all of which had numerous bloodstains, and Ortzow was arrested by the authorities on the 12th of July of 1941. In an initial interrogation in a small room under the light of a single light bulb, Ortzow was confronted with one of his severely injured victims, as well as a tray of skulls from several of his other victims. And we can go ahead and we can run the next clip. And thank you for being patient with me, Oz. Ortzow was formally expelled from the Nazi Party just days prior to his indictment for murder. Ortzow eventually pleaded guilty to 8 murders, 6 attempted murders, and 31 cases of assault, which included the rapes. He was promptly sentenced to death on the 24th of July by the Berlin Kammerricht. I need to say it angrily. The Berlin Kammerricht regional, which is basically the regional superior court, in the presence of 8 witnesses. The final charges against him were of criminal violence. Ortzow was subsequently declared an enemy of the people by the Nazi regime and executed by guillotine at the Prozensee prison on the 26th of July of 1941, only 2 days after his sentence. So they were quick. Like, it was like guilty chop. But I did find that interesting because apparently, and I couldn't, even though I kept finding like this new, like an old news clipping or newspaper, like front page, it was in German. I don't read German. And I couldn't find anything in there with his last name. So, but I did see something where basically it was saying that like there were 5 victims in total. I want to say victims. Let's say, well, probably victims in some cases. That apparently this is how they executed him back then. Is if you were sentenced to death, it was by guillotine. Like, I thought that had gone away with the dodo and like the, you know, Marie Antoinette and stuff, but apparently not. Apparently when you were sentenced to death, if you weren't killed by like firing squad, it was guillotine, which just seems just really odd in the 20th century. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And like I said, this may kind of be some of the normal things that we do when we are going to be talking about something that might get us in trouble with, you know, prime supreme thought police at Zuckerberg. So I thought this was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. This is our first time. I think it went smooth for a first time. Absolutely. And I want to thank each and every one of our viewers and supporters. Without you, none of this is possible. Now, if you would like to further support the artists here, please check out our coffee bar on our website and buy us a coffee through Ko-Fi. But the most important and special thing that you can do, and it's absolutely free, is to share us out. Share out our content, spread the word. Let's infect everybody with the bunny clutch. And we really, really do appreciate you guys being here. Now, I will be dark next week, which is a little odd because it's usually 3 weeks on, 1 week off. However, I've got a really big two-parter that's coming up that I've got to do a lot of studying and I've got to read a book about. But it's going to be fun. So I will be dark next week. Then I will be back the following week, or the following 2 weeks. Yes, the following 2 weeks. So we are taking kind of more of a lackadaisical like schedule with the summer being here, just so that we can kind of take a mental break in some ways, because doing live podcasts is hard. If you've done, live podcasts like this, especially, when I've got to like, pull out Mother Della Morte and all that kind of stuff, takes a lot to do it. So we like to reserve the summer times for kind of, our kind of like more laid back schedule. So I'll be doing that. Definitely stay tuned though. We have all different content artists that are popping into doing little surprise things. And then this coming up Friday, just like down here on the ticker or down here on the little lower third, we've got new hosts to introduce on Roots Bleed Red this Friday. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And let's see what's going on in the chats real quick. And like I said, enjoy the chat. Enjoy the members only area. Have fun with it. You can shoot us messages if you want us to try to look for stuff. Matter of fact, on that first page, if you look down at the bottom, there's a contact us form. So you can let us know if links aren't working, if you want us to look up something, like a movie or something like that and get it set up there. We can definitely do that. And if it's available somewhere online, hopefully we can find it for you. So let's see what's going on in the chats real quick, and then I will wish you a pleasant nightmare. All right, let's see. Let's go back up here. All right. Ooh, and Liz is ordering a vegan food. Oh, that would be so perfect in this heat. And then PBDC TV Mod says, I want to be in your state. I'm tired of California. It's I like it down here. It's a lot. It's like green, and I love like green and foliagey and all that kind of stuff. But it is hot here right now. Well, actually, if you look at the temperature's not that bad. It's the humidity, and like you can't even sweat. It's just like it's like going into a sauna. It's awful. And yes, you do need to get your butts here though. And then Maud says English is a Germanic language, so German and other Scandinavian languages come easy to us English speakers. That makes sense. You guys just saw what I searched on YouTube. You probably see some of Odd Daughter's stuff in there too. You see, we're all connected to Facebook, and if we're signed into the channel, it's going to show history for everybody. So there's probably all kinds of stuff in there too that Odd Daughter's been looking at. And me, I look at a lot of crazy stuff too. And then PBDC Mod says he was actually afraid to die and basically a pussy, pretty much. Pretty much. And the Germans were extremely brutal. They absolutely were. We do love everybody, and thank you so much for the support. All right. Yes, it is very humid, Kisa. It absolutely is. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. This was a lot of fun. And I like the fact that we can keep streaming and still drop some of the channels and also get it over here to the website. That is so fun. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and weekend. We will see you Wednesday after next with something very, very cool. And hopefully by then we've got all kinds of new like midway ads and fun stuff. And oh, don't go yet. Don't go yet. This is important. Stop. This is important. So we are doing some new stuff. It's going to be probably quarterly. I only have it up on the Psychomantium 13 website right now, but there will be a link in all our other websites. Go and make yourself a show segue. We want to hear from you, okay? Go to the show segue page, follow the instructions, super duper easy. We've got an embedded app in there to where you can record your voice with some scripts and possibly hear yourself on our shows. So this is going to be super fun. I've got a lot of segues already from people that I'm working on putting together. But we always like to include you guys. So this is another way to include you, our supporters, in everything that we do, because this is like a big family unit. And again, if it wasn't for you guys, none of this would be possible. So go and create yourself a segue. There's instructions. There's instructions. Make it super easy. There's even scripts that you can choose from, and make us a segue. And we will compile them. So you may not hear yours right away, but we will use those throughout the year. So that will be fun, and we're having a lot of fun with it, and I'm having a lot of fun with getting those things added to a lot of the new content, stuff like that we've got for our ads and stuff coming up. So anyway, you can go now. Have a wonderful night, and pleasant nightmares, everybody. Bye.
This is Mr. Applewhite speaking. Do not attempt to adjust your device. There is nothing wrong with it. I am here to deliver a message. Join Psycho Bunny Death Cult in our anti-censorship campaign. Free your mind. Free your head.